Alright folks, well I'm getting ready to do what I'm calling the arrow fire ritual. And I don't know if ritual is really the right word, but I don't know what else to call it, and I'll tell you why. Right here I have most of the things I'm going to need to fletch these arrows and also haft the arrowheads. Okay, so the main thing I'm working on today is pretty much completing these two arrows. These are for my friend Comanchero out in Colorado, and they're going to be hafted with these obsidian arrowheads and fletched. And also this arrow, I'm just going to rehaft the flint arrowhead, and the rest of these arrows over here are just in for repair. Put in a little bit of glue on the different parts that have been worn away while shooting them. We have some different tools, some pincers for the feathers, a little spatula for the glue. This screwdriver I use as like a heating iron to heat it up and sort of smear the glue on sometimes. Here's the glue. So the glue is pine pitch mixed with ground up charcoal mixed with a little bit of ground up rabbit poop. All right, and so for the fletching, I have these feathers ready. 2 goose feathers and 1 turkey feather for each arrow. A few more tools. The bindings that I'm using are New Zealand flax fibers. I've already processed these into little groups. A lot of people will be using sinew to fletch the arrows for the bindings, and that's probably a lot better. From what I understand, it's very strong and it sort of glues itself a little bit when you get it wet. So you just do a nice tie and it's very neat and small. But I don't have any animal sinew. And my whole thing about primitive is I only use materials that I gather myself. Everything I've just gathered from local sources by hand. Feathers, wood, all the stuff for the glue, the bindings. So I don't hunt so far, so I don't have a deer to get the sinew out of. So we just have these natural bindings, and they're not nearly as strong as the sinew, and they don't really grab on by themselves. So use the bindings plus the glue to secure on the feathers and the arrowhead. And the other thing about this process is that you need fire to heat the glue and to get it on there and to bind it together. And whenever I do something like this, working on bows and arrows, I only use fire that I made myself by hand, friction fire. So I have my fire kit here, spindle and hearth board, and a nest prepared to catch the ember and blow it to fire. That's just my thing that I do. I guess that's part of what you might call ritualistic, because you know I got a lighter right here, but instead of just lighting the fire like that, I do it by hand. And that's, for me, that's part of what kind of binds this whole process together. And it takes weeks, months, or even years to gather all these materials and also the skills to do all this. So it all kind of culminates today when I make the fire and I keep it going while I'm working on this stuff. Chop the firewood into kindling with a hatchet. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get out there to the fire pit and start. Okay, so just getting this glue ready, heating it up slowly. Don't want to overheat it. It'll get brittle and it could catch fire, which is really bad. I don't need to heat all of it, just like a little bit over on the edge. Got my feathers ready, the shaft, nice and straight. I mean, yeah, it's really straight. Okay, now here's where it gets tricky to bind those on here at the right positions. I'm trying to get them 1 inch down from the end. It's kind of messy, but it's on there. It's looking pretty good at this point. Tying this on. It's not as always difficult for me. And I got the both bindings on there. Now I'm just gonna smear the glue over those and kind of spread it over those fiber bindings. And Just kind of smear it around on there. I don't want to have too much, but I do want to have enough to cover those fibers completely. Screwdriver comes in handy. Use that as an iron. Melt that glue down over those fibers. Okay, so got all these feathers on. It came out pretty well. This one is like nearly perfect. This one is a little bit off, but it's pretty good, definitely usable. And now I'm just gonna trim up the feathers, and that's the end of the fletching. Okay, I'm getting ready to haft these arrowheads. Each one has been carved specifically. I mean, the knock on the arrow has been carved specifically for this arrowhead. It fits very snugly, and I'm gonna just kind of put a goop of glue in there, heat this up a little bit, and just push it in there and let it set. While I wait for this to set, go ahead and start repairing. Oh, this is the other one that I need to haft. Okay, now repair some of these beaten up arrows. Okay, last step is to bind these similar to the feathers for the fletching, but I'm going to use that hot screwdriver to melt down that excess glue around there before I get started. Okay. Now if I could just tie that off. Okay, they count pretty well. I'll just smear the glue all over there, like the other one. Okay, last step is to collect some of these pokeweed berries to make a dye for the arrows. And this is just grown in my yard, but these berries make this super fuchsia dye, and I guess it's also mildly poisonous, so you don't want to ingest this stuff. I don't know if that would help you or hurt you if you're hunting with these arrows.